All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SilmFilm script discussion, season 2, episode 7. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It is episode 7. I can count and things. So,
Spirit of Fire. Spirit of Fire is episode 7.
Spirit of Fire. We've got, as Brandon says, angsty teen Feanor in this episode. We've got a lot to do. So, we've got Feanor and Finwë. Muriel's gone. Feanor's going to grow up in this episode. He's going to meet his wife Nerdanel, and they're going to get married. At the same time, we have Finwë, his father, is going to deal with the repercussions of grief over his dead wife in time to marry his second wife, which is weird for reasons that modern people won't understand.
Well, you would understand.
I mean, quite honestly, it would have been a lot easier for human people to understand this 100 years ago.
No, because widowers remarried all the time.
But yes, but once you say, well, yes, but they come back, then it's like, oh, okay, obviously, yeah, they can't just get married again.
Okay. Yeah, but anything
post like that now.
Yes, in the post 1960s American world, this makes very little sense. The entire plot of this is confusing. Yeah.
I worry this timeline doesn't work if we're doing the romances in parallel. I do too.
We don't have to do them in parallel. We can do them in series. Finwë and Indus first, and then followed up with Feanor and Nerdanel as Feanor's older.
Which leads us into the problem, which is, what is the major conflict of this episode?
It's Feanor's relationship with his, what do you call it, half-siblings and stepmother. Wait, is that?
It can't be, we don't introduce, it can't really be his half-siblings because we don't introduce them except as very small children until pretty late in the episode, I imagine.
Right, so it's mostly the Indus thing, but Feanor's conflict with his father, dealing with his dead mother, figuring out how to handle the stepmother, talking to Nerdanel about this whole family situation later when he meets her, with a happy ending for him, but still tense relationships with the family. I mean, the conflict is Feanor grows up feeling that the world is terribly unfair, that he's the only one who doesn't have a mom. And then when he gets a mom, he hates her.
I feel like Feanor would have to be the protagonist because he's the only one. Which is upsetting because I really wanted to open up the episode with Finwë going to visit Muriel alone because it gives us a chance to see him alone dealing with her death.
Don't we usually have the non-protagonist stuff happening in the teaser? We've done a lot of that. Is that
You're
bad?
Not my real mom.
Yeah, I mean this is Feanor's "You're Not My Real Mom" episode.
Yeah, because we're bad people. Okay, all right. Well, first thing. All right. Let's worry about how to open up the episode in a second. I do feel like Feanor is the natural protagonist.
Yes.
He has a through line in the episode. He's the one stuff is happening to. How is that resolved for him in
He has issues with his biological family, and he moves out of the house, meets a girl, starts his own new family. So he finds a family with Nerdanel and Matan in their community of artists.
Alex is suggesting Indus as a protagonist, which I don't hate, except how is because her story the story kind of leaves her. Yeah, I know what you mean. The story kind of leaves her once Feanor is learning from Matan and spending time with Nerdanel.
If you consider Feanor's plot the B plot and Indus the protagonist, then the way it comes back is that even though Feanor is going off on his own and setting up his own life with Nerdanel, Matan, and all that, he still has to come home and visit Finwë occasionally. Like, that's still there. And Indus is watching him grow up and watching all this happen and trying to create a relationship with him that ultimately fails. Indus fails in her attempts to build a relationship with Feanor throughout the episode. So, if you wanted to, you could do that. I think it's kind of a sadder story that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's think about this. One of the things, because now we kind of have to deal with the whole, take care of my boys routine. I feel like that's a lot stronger and less weird if it's Feanor himself that she is encouraged, at least by Muriel, to keep an eye on. I
personally think that that line needs to totally be cut from Muriel's lifetime. From her lifetime. Oh, no. And inserted now.
Right. Yes.
From the dead. She's allowed to speak from the dead because you can do that in Middle-earth. And, well, in Mandos anyway. So she can convey the message of, I'm not coming back. I'm not getting re-embodied no matter what. Peace out, guys. You're on your own. But
Indus,
I give my permission.
Checking
but
on.
I give my permission. I want Finwë to have a companion. I want Feanor to have a mom.
Okay, yeah, but that's after let's say romance between Finwë and Indus has already blossomed.
Is it? Finwë asked permission to remarry. Does he do that before he's picked out Indus or after?
I mean, Feanor is the golden child who feels that people don't understand him. There's some conflict to be had there. Yes, that was my original go-to, but we're trying to see where things go as far as having Indus as our protagonist.
So Alex's argument for choosing Indus is that we'll probably want Feanor as a protagonist later. So if we're switching protagonists throughout the season, then maybe not keep him for this one.
And it allows us to see the situation from multiple points of view instead of just, this is the guy.
The only other issue is that this whole story is called the Silmarillion. It's pretty Feanor-centric, and we only get Feanor as a character for basically one full season, because it's from here to the end of this season, and then maybe the first 4 episodes of the next season. And then he's dead.
You want to call this episode The Spirit of Fire.
Right, which is Feanor grows up. So this is halfway through the season. We finally get Feanor, and he's going to be dead in 10 episodes.
Right.
So if we have to use him as a protagonist twice in this season, I don't think that's a disaster.
I feel like we're going to see him as protagonist more than that.
And that is the next question then, is if he's going to repeat a lot. I see the point of using Indus here to kind of ease into that.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, the episode where we have, the episode where he pulls a sword on Fingolfin, we could actually use Fingolfin as the protagonist in that episode.
I would assume so.
Making Feanor the antagonist. Aha.
Yes. And also the party scene for episode 12, which is supposed to be the reuniting of Fingolfin and Feanor. We probably will not have either of those two be the actual protagonist. They'll have an important scene together, but the bigger picture is probably going to be someone else's viewpoint. Probably. Okay. Who knows?
All right. So, I mean, I think we can. I think if we don't make Feanor a protagonist in this episode, we're going to get major flack not only are we going to get major flack, but we're going to have a hard time convincing other people during a broadcast with Tolkien professor disagreeing with us to support our point of view on top of it. So,
I don't think we should veto ourselves before we get shut down.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's going to be a tough sell.
Fair enough. But if there's a reason to make it Indus, because I mean, there's not going to be an opportunity later to let Indus be a protagonist again, right? Like this would be her one shot at it, I think. She's going to be around till the end of the season, but
yeah.
So based on that, if this is her only chance to be a protagonist and we use it, that's a good argument, I guess.
Okay.
The other reason for doing it that way is we let Muriel be the protagonist of the episode where she married Finwë. So if we let Indus be the protagonist of the episode where she marries Finwë, there's some parallel stuff going on there.
All right. Well, let's give it that.
There's reasons, but
okay. For reasons. All right. So what does that make the climax of this episode then?
It would have to be Feanor rejecting his step family, or it would have to be Feanor accepting the family on some level, because they want him to be like still on somewhat friendly terms with Fingolfin and Finarfin in the next episode. During the trial, they want that to still be pretty peaceable, which is interesting as a choice, because I get the impression that Feanor was never on friendly terms with any of these people.
That is the distinct impression that I get.
But they want us to leave off they want to see the conflict escalate to the point where he draws a sword. They don't want it to be completely rancorous the whole time. So from that point of view, the climax of this episode could be coming to terms with everything.
Okay.
Or it could just be that Nerd and Feanor get married and have a happy life. I mean, that's another possible.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with Indus.
Right. That would be if Feanor were the protagonist.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. And I agree, Alex, that Feanor has a happy ending. Indus probably doesn't have a happy ending to this episode, and if we do, it's a fake happy ending because we're going to destroy it later.
Okay. Well, what we could do is have, if excuse me, if Indus and Finwë get married by the midpoint of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we skip forward in time a little bit to the point where we have, Fingolfin and Finarfin as, say, teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The kind of like the climax of the episode could be, Feanor, like Indus trying to teach, not the climax, but we could see something of Indus trying to teach Fingolfin and Finarfin to respect and care for Feanor, even though he's a bit of a jerk to them.
Yes, the hosts definitely have put emphasis multiple times on the idea that Indus considers Feanor the charity case of her best friend's death. Like you poor thing, you lost your mom, we need to take good care of you. Like right. That is 100% Indus's motivation behind this, and possibly Muriel told her some things, but
yeah. I know. I'm worried about that too. Is this going to devolve into some kind of shouting match, like where Indus basically lays out her position on the line and says, "Look, I've done everything I can to love you and care for you as much as I do my own children. I've taught them to love, care, and respect you as their older brother. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like, is that what we want to see?" And he has no good answer for that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he has an answer for that.
I didn't say he didn't have an answer for it. I said he has no good answer for it.
Right. His answer is pretty much, I would like for you and Muriel to switch places. I
Right.
mean, that's Feanor's opinion on all of this. Let's see, oh wow, what did we write over here?
Yeah, they are the antagonists of each other's stories.
Okay, so it's a joint story where Indus's story has Feanor as the antagonist, and Feanor's story has Indus as the antagonist, and the viewer gets to choose which side they like better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that can be quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I personally enjoy stories of best friends trying to kill each other, so I think there's some animes where that's the plot. So yeah, I think we could do a lot with that.
Okay. All right. So let's start, I guess, working at our act breaks then. Well, no. All right. So let's go back to the beginning.
Opening.
So how are we going to set this up? I do want to see a scene of Finwë in Lorien with Muriel by himself.
I think that's a perfect way to open the episode. It reminds the audience that, oh yeah, this guy has a dead wife. In case
right. And having him alone makes it very clear that he's not, like, if he's there with Feanor,
it's like, I brought my kid to
right. Duty. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't make it about him. By making it him alone, it shows that he is the one that misses her.
Yes, and I think later we'll show a scene of Feanor coming alone.
I would like to see that as the end of, as like, if like to bookend the those
episode.
two.
Well, I was thinking maybe in a later episode. Right. Because I kind of want Melkor to be there, so that's going to be two episodes from now. Yeah, I was going to do something else with that scene, but
yes, Nienna is the weepy one. Well, that would be really interesting if Nienna has a conversation with Finwë and that leads him.
We need to get the Valar involved pretty quickly for the having permission to remarry thing.
Yeah.
And if Finwë is visiting Muriel's body, finally admitting that she's not coming back, and talks to Nienna about this, like, my wife is gone, I'll never see her again, she's like completely forsaken our people. He can lay it on thick of, like, she's abandoned me.
And my child.
And our child, yeah. And just like, what am I going to do? My child is growing up without a mother, and I don't understand. I'm trying to do my best for him, but what do I do? And would Nienna then go talk to Mandos and be like, hey, can we like just re-embody her anyway? Can we like speed that process up? And that would be like, nope, not happening.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's her job really to do that.
But she could speak to one of the other Valar about, what are we going to do for Finwë? Like, he's in a bind here. How are we going to make this better?
Right.
And that could open the question of, well, if his wife's never coming back, why doesn't he can marry somebody else, I guess, if he wanted to.
I mean, so do we want it to somehow establish that the Valar are like, hey, why don't you go marry somebody else and everything will be fine? No,
because the Valar make enough mistakes in this.
I was going to say.
We don't need to have them introduce the idea. Yeah, and Nienna's about to turn around and defend Melkor the next episode, so she's going to make a mistake from the viewer's point of view anyway. She'll defend it as not a mistake. But
I don't have a problem, Alex, with having her being his advocate once the request is made. I just don't see her.
We want the request to come from Finwë.
Right.
Okay. I just
my suggestion with having Indus start out feeling like she has an obligation to Feanor.
Is that there's a reason for her to visit, and
Right, and it can be something that Finway initially rejects, which again gives us a chance to show the audience that he's not on the rebound here.
Yeah, I think that even without an explicit request from Muriel, take care of my boys, that Indus could still want to come visit and help out with Child Feanor, because she was visiting Child Feanor in the last episode, so visiting the house again to see the boy, and now he's older and everything. Like, it would still, and she's someone who grew up without a mother. She lost her mother.
Yeah.
So she feels, she feels a connection to Feanor, like her own personal responsibility, not just, well, your dead mom told me to watch you, so I guess I'll do this.
Okay. So what we can do is, also there's been a question of whether or not we're going to have, because I felt like we kind of wrapped up the Myron and Middle-earth saga in episode 5. In episode 6, rather.
Yeah. It came up again for episode 8 with, if we were going to show Melkor doing good things in Valinor, we could show Myron going bad in Middle-earth. Like, that could be a contrast where it looks like Melkor is going to become a good guy and Myron is going to now become the bad guy.
Which supports my suggestion that Melkor be the protagonist of that episode, which Alex hates. Anyway. No, it was like we wrapped it up in episode 6, Alex, but it was brought up again for episode
8.
8, yeah.
Yeah, so it's how finished these decisions are depends on whether or not people have better ideas later.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we?
The Elway was the decision that came from on high. That when Elway becomes Thingol, that's the last time we see him until next season. That was a official thing. And with that came a lot of, we're done with Middle-earth, no more Middle-earth, we're all in Valinor now, let's focus on the Valinor story. So there was a lot of that, but we could show a little bit of Sauron just got thrown into episode 8. So it's up in the air, I guess, again.
We'll see how things go. Why don't we take a quick break real quick? Quickly.
Yes, quick.
I like using the word quick. So anyway, if you're watching us live, stay with us. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. If you're watching this later on YouTube, feel free to hit the like button. Feel free to share the videos if you want to share them. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe so you can get more of these videos. See you in a little bit.